Alrighty, and welcome back. So today we are going to be talking about how to solve quadratic equations by using square roots. This is going to be corresponding with section 8.7 in your guided notes. So please have them out. Let's begin. So if a quadratic equation is in the form x squared is equal to a, you must take the square root of both sides to find the solutions. Remember, to find both the positive and the negative square roots. This is a special scenario where we're going to be able to find x without factoring or without graphing. Please be aware that you can only have an x squared term. Notice in our form, x squared is equal to a. We do not have that linear term, the variable x with an exponent of 1. We only have x squared is equal to a. Now, it may not look exactly like x squared is equal to a, but we're going to get it into a setting of x squared is equal to a, especially in that second example that we're going to go through. But let's go through an example first. Let's solve x squared is equal to 36 by using square roots. Well, this is of the form x squared is equal to a because we only have an x squared term. So we're going to take the square root of both sides, and the square root of 36 is plus or minus 6, positive or negative 6. So the solutions are 6 and negative 6. And we can check our work if we substitute in to our main equation. We have x is equal to 6. Well, we substitute it in. 6 squared is indeed equal to 36. If x is equal to negative 6, we substitute it back into our quadratic equation, and we end up with negative 6 squared is equal to 36. Now, be aware, it's negative 6 squared. So it means negative 6 times negative 6, which gives us positive 36. But sometimes it's not going to be as straightforward as this. We may have to solve or manipulate our equations a little bit to end up with x squared all by itself. So let's solve 2x squared plus 7 is equal to 207 using square roots. This is where we're going to have to manipulate our equation to get that x squared term all by itself. Notice there's no other variable. We only have our variable x being squared. There's only one term that has a variable here. So we're going to subtract 7 on both sides, end up with 2x squared is equal to 200. We're going to divide both sides by 2. End up with x squared is equal to 100, and now we can take the square root of both sides. We end up with x is equal to plus or minus 10, so therefore the solutions are 10 and negative 10. But let's just double check our work just to make sure that we end up with the true statement. If we substitute in, come on, there we go. If we substitute in the x value of 10, we end up with the true statement of 207 is equal to 207. And if we substitute in the x value of negative 10, we still end up with the true statement 207 is equal to 207. Awesome. With this in mind, please work on problems 1 through 12 on the guided notes and resume when you're ready to move on. Now remember, the square root of a number, it's not always a perfect square. You can use a calculator to approximate the answer. So let's solve x squared plus 6 is equal to 24. Let's round to the nearest hundredth. So we need to get that x squared term all by itself. So we're going to subtract 6 on both sides. We end up with x squared is equal to 18. We're going to take the square root of both sides. So we end up with x is equal to plus or minus root 18. That is a typo in your notes. Should be x is equal to plus or minus root 18. So we end up with plus or minus 4.24. So the approximate solutions are 4.24 and negative 4.24. You may be asked to reduce your radical as we have done before. So we end up with root 9 times root 2. Therefore, we get 3 root 2. So we're going to get 4.24 and negative 4.24, or plus or minus 3 root 2. In this particular problem, it asks for you to round to the nearest hundredth and get the decimal. If we wanted to be exact, though, we can simplify our radicals just like we have been doing. And when solving application problems by using square roots, one of the solutions may not make any sense. So let's go through an example in which it wouldn't make any sense. Let's say we're given this scenario. The length of a rectangle is 5 times the width. The area of the rectangle is 210 square feet. Find the width. Round to the nearest tenth of a foot. So we know that we have the area is equal to our length times the width. And if the length is 5 times the width, then we can replace length with 5w, because 5 times something is, well, 5 multiplied with it. If I have 5 times the amount of candy bars as you, and you have 10 candy bars, well, I have 50. We take yours, which is 10, and we multiply it by 5. So we can substitute in what we know. We can simplify. We end up with 5w squared is equal to 210. We can divide both sides by 5. We get that w squared is equal to 42. And we can take the square root of that, which again is another typo in your guided notes. I apologize for that. So w is going to be equal to plus or minus root 42, which is approximately plus or minus 6.5. But it doesn't make sense for the width to be a negative number. We're talking about a real life scenario. We don't have distances that are negative. We're just going in an opposite direction. So the only solution is going to be 6.5 feet. We don't include the negative aspect of 6.5 because we can't have negative 6.5 feet. It doesn't make any sense. So in this real life scenario, we sometimes have to think about our answers and make sure that it makes sense. In this case, we only have one answer, which is 6.5 feet. With this in mind, please work on problems 13 through 17 on the guided notes. Y'all are doing really well. Keep up the great work. Keep making yourself proud. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I'll talk to you soon.